afternoon, everyone. This is James Renouf with the Solutions Architect team, and we'll start momentarily. Greg Sane is going to lead this presentation. I wanted to make sure everyone could hear me. If you can you type in the chat? Let us know where you're from. That would be great. And we will start momentarily. And we're going to be taking questions too. So if you have questions, certainly add them in the chat box and we will address them at the end of the presentation. Can everyone see me, or excuse me, see the screen and hear me okay? Okay, great. So I wanted to start the presentation off by introducing Greg Sane, and he is going to take it away from here. Thank you, Greg.
Thank you, James. Hello and welcome everyone to today's webinar about how storable websites can bolster your business. My name is Greg Sane and I'm on the solutions team here at Storable. First of all, I want to say thank you everyone for joining us today. I'm very excited to be able to share some insights on the benefits of, the benefits that a website can bring to your business. So I'm gonna go ahead and jump right in. I do have a couple of housekeeping items. Today's webinar is going to be between 40 and 45 minutes long. We want to make sure to have plenty of time for questions at the end. We've already tested a couple of things through the chat feature with GoToWebinar, but if you do have any technical issues, please use the live chat. We have a team behind the scenes that can help out with any of these issues. And if there are audio issues, GoToWebinar can switch from computer audio to phone, and that'll typically resolve the problem. And yeah, so at the end, we want to have plenty of time to answer any questions that you might have. So during the presentation, feel free to type out any kind of questions in that questions section. I'll do my best to get those answered for you, but if we do run out of time, we'll make sure to reach out afterwards and follow up with you. Oh, and if you are interested in anything that we discuss today, please let us know in the chat, and we'll make sure to reach out to you after this webinar. So today's presentation, we're going to, first of all, contextualize where the industry is in this moment, July 2023, what patterns have emerged and what can we learn from them. Also, we're going to talk about how, websites are necessary to your business and, what your website needs to be effective. And then finally, we'll want to talk about how Storable, what kind of things Storable significantly brings to the table so that your business can stand out and take that advantage. So, first of all, context. Where is the industry right now? Believe me, as much as I would love to not have to say the P word, the pandemic really influenced the storage industry. In a good way, I should say. Everyone's huddled at home and buying everything off of Amazon, and when stay-at-home orders are lifted, people had too much stuff for them to keep, and storage was right there waiting for them. Throughout 2021 and 2022, we saw significantly more move-ins than move-outs, and because of this, hit an all-time record high of 85 occupancy across the industry. And mind you, that 85% occupancy includes entire facilities that were built brand new and immediately filled with tenants. Of course, with every ebb, there's a flow. And the first 2 quarters of this year has seen the move-in, move-out ratio come back down to earth, which has brought occupancy down to that pre-pandemic norm of about 77% across the industry. Now, even though this might just look like, oh, we saw a 2-year boom and we're leveling back to quote unquote normal, well, that might appear true for occupancy, but how marketing is done and how clients interact with businesses has majorly shifted. And we'll show you why it doesn't look like there's any sign of us going back. So that's what has happened over the last 2.5 years, but what's to come from all of that? Well, with 87% of Americans owning a computer and 85% of Americans owning a smartphone, tenants have grown to expect not only digital forms of engagement, but contactless processes as well. This graph shows how many tenants are using online services to find storage. Specifically, it's showing the difference between pre-pandemic and post-pandemic. While, sure, it makes sense for the younger generations to be consuming almost everything digitally these days, the age groups that are a bit more interesting are the 55+ crowd. While growth in digital adoption can be credited to the pandemic as, pure necessity, people are staying at home, people using their phones. What's interesting is this digital usage among the 55+ demographic is staying flat. So now online marketing or even contactless interactions, be it reservations, move-ins, payments, these are becoming the norm. Now, I don't want to gloss over the millennial and Gen Z generations. I mean, yes, they demand technology in almost every aspect of their lives, and they're becoming a larger percentage of our tenants. And as these generations approach adulthood, if they haven't already, they want to use technology to interact with businesses. And that includes their storage facility. Now, this graph I find fascinating because it confirms and displays so many things. This graph shows how many people are searching for storage online, searching the phrase storage near me. Now, honestly, I could talk the entire 30 minutes on this graph alone, but I'm only going to hit on a few of the most important takeaways. First, looking at 2018 and 2019, and even the first quarter of 2020, just before the pandemic. Searching online for storage was okay, but it wasn't great. However, you can then see April of 2022, that immediate effect of the pandemic. But every single month, every single point after April 2020 has been way higher than we've ever seen before. We talked earlier about how occupancy in 2023 is now back at the same levels as it was around 2018 and 2019. But with this 2013 line, being much higher than the 2018, 2019, even though it has approximately the same occupancy, that tells us that the online marketing is here to stay, and it's not going back. We also mentioned earlier that 2021 and 2022 were record-setting years for occupancy. But this isn't a graph of occupancy. This is a graph of people finding storage online. Occupancy was up, searching online was up. It's not the same graph, but it reflects the same data. That brings us to my biggest point. The industry has always had that natural summer bump. You know, there's spring cleaning, college kids looking to store stuff, other things going on. All of this causes Q2 and Q3 to see the highest levels of occupancy throughout the entire year. But again, even though this isn't a graph about occupancy, the fact that searching for storage online is mirroring the actual industry statistics, and with these numbers being so high, this tells us that this marketing, online marketing, is directly linked to the performance of this industry. Now, you might look at the graph and notice that 2023 isn't as high as 21 or 22, but we all know that industries ebb and flow, and with the prior 2 years hitting record highs, we're currently in the downtick before the next rise. You buy low, sell high. And when you buy low, it is to prepare for that upcoming uptick. And that is why we're talking today. Being prepared with the right resources in the right places for that next uptick. Now, I want to be very clear here. When I say uptick, no one's expecting 2021's occupancy numbers to be, the new standard, or that there's any kind of like boom around the corner. What I want to be very clear about is people are searching online. Online marketing mirrors occupancy trends, and historically, Q2 and Q3 have the highest occupancy throughout the year. So, come March 2024, you want a website that tenants can find online, because that's how they're looking. And you can't just launch a website in February of 2024 because it needs time to get on Google's radar. It needs a few months to build that cloud, a solid reputation, and gain some traction so that it's an established website by the time we get to February 2024. So, people are searching online. But what does it take to have a good website? What do you do to stand above the crowd so that you can be found? Well, people are searching online. You're going to Google, type in storage near me. Actually, side note, I'm saying Google. That's because Google accounts for like 92% of overall searches made in the United States. But when I say Google, this can apply to all other search engines as well, like Yahoo, Bing, etc. So people are searching. How does Google determine which websites get displayed at the very top. SEO, or search engine optimization, determines where you're ranked. And you've probably heard the term SEO before. Definitely a buzzword these days. How you're ranked is honestly all at the mercy of Google's algorithm. People search, people find you, then people can give you their business. I want to show you how a website helps with that people find you part. So, why is it important to be ranked so high? I mean, if you're on Google, if you got a website, people will come to you. Well, actually, whenever people are searching on Google, 27.8, nearly 28% of people that search stuff click on that top result. The gold standard, whatever one's at the top, that's the one I'm clicking. More than 1 out of 4 people, 28% are clicking that top spot. Okay, well, it's not realistic for everyone on this call to be #1 at every single of their markets. So what's good enough? I mean, obviously you want to be #1, but what's good enough? That first page? Well, just the top 5 is 69.1%. Nearly 70% of users are clicking that top 5. We're seeing that people are searching, but they're not searching deep. 7 out of 10 people won't even scroll down on Google's main page to find the best match for them. I mean, there are 10 options on Google's front page. People are clicking on the top 5. So in order for you to be found and drive business to your site, you have to take advantage by building a website that has what Google's looking for. Maximize that SEO. Because just having a website that's good enough isn't good enough anymore. Now, I've got a couple of very generic types of websites and, giving them a letter grade by how likely they are to be successful, to be seen by Google. At a C, and maybe it needs to be a little lower, is like just a simple Facebook page or a simple design with some contact info, kind of like just that free out of the box SiteLink store that some people use. It's a great website with your facility info on it. That is not good enough to get found, honestly. A B, you know what? You have your own website. You've got your domain. It has, pertinent information. It's got some pictures. This used to be good enough. If you have Storable, storageunits.com, and some info where people can come and find you, sure, that used to be good enough. But it's not good enough anymore. Not only do you need a website dedicated to your business, it needs to be built the right way. For example, mobile flexibility, but it also needs to have back-end setup, and I'll explain what that means in a minute, as well as contactless capabilities. Now, contactless isn't just moving online, showing up at the facility and start putting stuff into a unit without ever talking to you. Many facilities are honestly doing exactly that, but it also means that first point of contact with reservations, as well as online bill pay. Log into the website, pay, log off. That's contactless. Now, there are a few other things that can really push you over the top and make you stand out and boost your SEO. But I just want to talk about that A range right now. What do you need in a website? What are the basics that you can't overlook before talking about going above and beyond? So, how should a website be built? The algorithms that search engines use are incredibly complex. I mean, seriously, Google literally takes approximately 206 factors into account when trying to determine SEO. Unfortunately, due to the complexity of these SEO algorithms, it can be a daunting task to try and increase your rank. This is why it's important to partner with the right website provider that has SEO at their forefront. Now, yes, obviously some SEO factors are weighted more than others, so we're going to highlight the most important parts, including mobile flexibility, the visual content, the back-end data, as well as usability. First, mobile flexibility. Google can tell if a website is going to adjust to match the size of the device that's being used. Your website having the ability to check it and see what kind of device is accessing this page, and then rearranging and putting the site's content in the appropriate places is how you can appeal to tenants searching for you with whichever device they may be on. Secondly, the visible content. You want to have the right things in the right places. Pictures with good naming conventions. If you have a picture of your units, you don't want it called like untitled2.jpg. It should have a name maybe like with your facility's name or something like outdoor units. That really helps Google know that the picture is what it is. Not only that, the keywords of text on the page themselves. If people are searching for storage near me, Google wants to make sure the top suggestions have something to do with storage. Things like, you want to have things like the city that you're in or the municipality that you're near. Yeah, as silly as it sounds, you want to make sure to have the words storage and units on there. Also, words like climate controlled or temperature controlled, boat and RV, you want the keywords to be there. But at the same time, you also don't want to just bullet point list them. Google can tell when a website is trying to game the system and just have, a shotgun approach of all of the keywords. The pertinent information needs to be there and appearing naturally. Another way that we need to think about the website is its design. And specifically, I want to talk about a phrase called above the fold. Now, above the fold means what's on the screen before you ever scroll. You want to have the name of your facility. You want to have a nice picture. The most important info like location, maybe a button that says rent or reserve. having the right info in the right places is the right way to build your site. But not only on the front end, there's also the back end. Because we talked about what you can see, but the hidden parts like backlinks, which are links to your website from other sites like Facebook or articles or marketing sites like Sparefoot. Basically, if other sites are linking to you, it bolsters your reputation. You also want to be considerate of your DNS records. Now, Google and Facebook have, code that you can get from them that is a DNS verification code. This basically is verifying your site is legitimate. It's basically like a digital stamp of approval. You also want to make sure that your Google tag, your meta tags are set up right, because meta tags are just tags in the code itself. You'd never see it, but tags in the code, specifically there for Google to read. Helps Google hone in on the specific information that it's looking for. And as weird as it sounds, headlines. I mean, there's a difference between headline text and info text. Labeling the right kind of text the right way with headlines specifically, there's like H1 and H2 types of headlines, making sure that the right data or the right text is labeled the right way on the back end is important for Google to, steer business in your direction. And the last thing that I want to talk about is Google My Business, linking your GMB account to bolster the fact that this site is for this company, tying them together. So we've talked about design, we've talked about the front end, the back end, but then we need to actually have, functionality, usability, interactivity. You want the tenant to interact with your website. If Google sees a history of users click onto your site, sit there and do nothing, and then leave, it'll think the page isn't engaging. Now, even if, the tenant comes to your site, calls you from your, and talks to you, and that's why they're just sitting on the site and not doing anything, even though you are connecting in real life, Google doesn't see that. So having some things like see our promotions or click here to rent today or contact us, usability and interactivity is really important. However, this is a bit of a tightrope to walk because Google's algorithm wants clicks, wants interactivity. The more clicks, the better. But a user doesn't want to have to click through 4 different screens just to see if you have any availability. Users want as few clicks as possible, or they'll get frustrated and go to another site. So having the right number of clicks, the right amount of usability to really thread that needle. So we've talked about how your business's websites should be set up. People need to find your website, and that's what it takes to get noticed. Now, honestly, I just want to say, if you take nothing away from this presentation other than, a healthier understanding of how to make your current website better, great. That's fine. If you're in this presentation, then you're using SiteLink and any way to help drive tenants to your business, that's a win in our book. We want you to succeed. But if you don't have a website, or your website doesn't do these things, or you're just not happy with your website, I do want to take these last couple of slides here and highlight how Storable's websites directly integrating with SiteLink can yield great results with honestly little to no effort on your part. And I just want to say again, if at any point you do see anything that you're interested in, please let us know in the chat with your contact information. We'll be happy to reach out to you. So first of all, what does Storable do? Everything we just talked about. D, all of the above. I mean, from the front end to the back end, that is how we build our websites, mobile first, to make sure that it's being seen the right way. Our websites only work if customers can find them, and people need to like them. Search engines need to like them. So we have made our websites for both real human users and Google's robots alike. Some of the extra things that Storable's websites do that we include direct FMS integration. I mean, we don't use any kind of third-party API. Everything that we do is in-house. It's connected. If you've updated your prices or amenities on your units inside of SiteLink, they're immediately updated online too. Promotions you've got set up in SiteLink, they'll display on your website. The move-ins and reservations and payments made online will immediately pop up and display on your bulletin board. Not only that, actually creating the site is easy as possible. We have website designers that are creating your site, and you can have as much or as little interactivity with that process. You'll have access to it while it's being built, and you can have input. We're not going to push the publish to the world to see button until you're happy with it. And if you have something like the video or something different, if you have, a cool widget that you get from somewhere, we can put it on there. I had a client, we've had a client that made like their own 3D tour thing of their facility and wanted to put it on their website. So we put it on their website. We want to work with you so that your vision, whatever it might be, of your website can, reflect what your vision is, so that it can display the way that you want. Not only that, after it's implemented, it's easy to update. If you, we have a very intuitive user interface where you can log in, update, pictures or change text. You have control over your website. Now, I do want to say that, for something that's more involved, like moving too many things around or adding new pages, or honestly, if you just want to be hands-off, we're happy to be involved just to make sure that everything looks right. We've got websites on our mind, and we want to make sure that everything looks and works the way it should. All you got to do is reach out to our support team with, hey, I want to add this or change this. Yeah, and okay, we'll get it done. Absolutely. Do it for you. And then the other thing is a little broader. We help with the hard stuff. And with this one, I do want to expand a little more on, because when I say help out with the hard stuff, the first thing I want to talk about is hosting duties. And honestly, this is something that can actually save you money. If you own the domain to your website, the name of your website, like storable.com, that's our domain. If you own the domain, you also have to have it hosted somewhere. You might buy your domain from like a domain.com or Google Domains or Squarespace or something, but it also needs to be hosted. It's like, you buy a car, but you need a place to park it. There are services out there like Bluehost and HostGator or GoDaddy that, yeah, you can pay to have them host your domain. Yeah, that's all well and good. If you want to do that, we will play nice with clients that have a GoDaddy hosting contract. Sure. That being said, if you have a storable website, we offer hosting free of charge. It's part of the package as, an option to save you some money. Next, with DNS verification, like I was saying earlier, get that verification code from Facebook or Google, that stamp of approval. We can make sure that those are in the right spot, and that's part of our hosting duties. And the reason I say that is because, obviously, if we're not the host, we can't update these records for you. Whoever your tech guy is, they can do it. And in addition, if you find some other, DNS tags, or if you have some other codes that, you want displayed or put on the back end, awesome. We'll make sure they're set up right. Send them to our website support. We put it up as part of our duties as your host. Then we have connecting with Google My Business or Google Analytics. We're built to connect directly to them. And if you come to us and we build your website and you don't yet have a Google My Business account, we'll set that up for you. Because not only is it important for your business, but when you have your Google My Business account, when you're linking it to your website, that will boost your SEO. So it's, one hand feeding the other at that point. It's great. And the last thing I want to touch on for the hard stuff, when Google updates, we update. It's actually happened a couple years ago or a year or two ago, Google majorly updated its SEO algorithm. And since we're so ingrained in the SEO industry, we saw their changes and we made our own so that our websites don't miss a step and we're still easy to find. Now, one of those things that Storable does or Storable utilizes that appeals to both, humans and the SEO robots alike are contactless move-ins or contactless capabilities of any kind. Yes, different businesses do things differently. Many facilities, especially unmanned sites, want tenants to move in online and pay monthly online, all without needing to have a point of contact. Sure, other facilities want reservations online and, after an email or a phone call, then send the process back to the tenant so they can still move in from the comfort of their own home or car or amusement park, wherever they are on their phone. They'll be able to move in right there, bam. While some other facilities only want online reservations, and then the tenant has to, come in and a site manager moves them in on SiteLink. Fine, great. We can do all of that. Now, while we are seeing trends that more and more tenants want to be able to do the whole move-in process online, soup to nuts, that's fine. But it's your business. To whatever degree of contactlessness your business is comfortable with, Storable websites integrating with SiteLink can handle it, especially thanks to, a couple of tools such as auto-enrolling tenants into autopay or an autopay so that you have fewer delinquent tenants, or, having electronically signing your lease. We're flexible, and if you change your mind at any time and you want to increase or decrease how contactless you are, great, cool, super easy. You're not locked into anything. We want to help your business. Now, one of the last things I want to talk about is, earlier, I mentioned that there are a couple of extra things you could do to really make a website stand out and get that A+ that is more and more important for those competitive markets. First is Sparefoot. It is the world's largest marketplace for finding and reserving storage. Think Yelp or apartments.com, but for storage units. I spoke earlier about backlinks on your site, having pages link out to other, linking to your website, legitimizing that, confirming that you are what you say you are and that other people are agreeing with it. Sparefoot is a great resource for prospective tenants, and linking it to your site and integrating with SiteLink helps with your SEO. Not only that, it actually doesn't cost you anything until it works. We're only looking at leads that were generated from Sparefoot specifically, that were then converted into move-ins. It doesn't cost anything until you're already making money from the service. And then the other service that I want to talk about is Storable's digital marketing services. And with all of the other SEO jargon that I have talked about today, I don't want to get too into the weeds here, but a couple of notable things that our digital marketing services provide are listings management. It improves your online reputation on third-party sites and allows you to keep all of your listings current and, monitor customer reviews from one place. We also have pay per click. Our specialists help capture more and higher quality leads thanks to tailored, targeted campaigns while tracking performance and refining so that we get as best a results as possible. And also ongoing SEO. We keep your SEO finely tuned thanks to ongoing tweaks and optimizations to your website to ensure that your website is consistently performing at peak efficiency for search results. At the end of the day, the broad topic is lead generation and lead conversion, because we all want a successful and sustainable business. There are a lot of website options out there that can get you a website, but your website only works if it is discoverable and people use it. As we've learned over the past 2.5 years, things can change really quickly. and you need to acquire the tools necessary to adapt to this ever-changing landscape. I mean, whether you currently have a website or you're looking to build one, it's important to remember that technology is shaping a new path for this industry. The traditional way of operating has been disrupted and change is happening. The needs and expectations of your tenants are evolving, and to stay competitive, you need to meet their needs in this new digital era. And that brings us to the end of this prepared part of our presentation. We'll now open it up for any questions that you might have. And while we are answering those questions, again, if you're interested in anything that we've talked about today, please let us know in the chat and we'll reach out to you. Or if you'd rather, you can email us at salessolutions@storable.com. So James or Jordan, do we know if we got any questions in the chat?
Absolutely. Do all of the Storable websites look the same?
That's a great question. So it's very easy to just say that a website has a template. That makes it sound like all of them look the exact same, that this is in the same spot, regardless. Storable has what I would describe as a more of like a modular template. You don't have to have the same things in the same places. Again, we tried to build a website based on what Google's looking for, but you could look at 10 different Storable websites and buttons in different places, different kinds of drop downs, different pictures, different clickable links. Yeah, so while we are using the same tools and we might have suggestions, if you want to change things about it, absolutely. We can definitely move whatever kind of content around so that it doesn't look, cookie cutter. It's a great question.
Absolutely. There's the customization, but also, do you have any thoughts on other third-party websites like StoragePug in terms of this discussion?
Yeah. So while I can't, I don't work for StoragePug. I've seen their websites. I always kind of think it's funny with that one. For example, you can always tell it's StoragePug because they just have like the biggest footers of any website I've ever seen. Just massive. I'm like, all right, so pugs apparently have big footers, have big feet. But yeah, so I can't speak to how modular those templates are, but yeah, I do know that because of some limitations, either through integration or design, we've taken on a lot of clients that are swapping over from G5 or StoragePug or the like.
Excellent. Any other questions from anyone else for Greg today? If I don't see any other questions, Greg, if any come in, reach out to salessolutions@storable.com. But Greg, that's all that we have for today's call.
All right, sounds good. Yeah, and if you do need any other, if you have any other questions that you think about, please feel free to reach out. Again, salessolutions@storable.com. We'd love to be able to hear from you. Thank you very much, everybody.